So we're going to talk about circles, yo. First thing, this is a circle. Okay? Circles are pretty cool because they have the center point right here. And the distance from the center point to anywhere on the outside of the circle is the same distance. And that distance is called the radius. Okay? It gets even cooler, guys. If you have two radiuses, maybe that's called radii, together, all the way across through the center, that is called a diameter. One way you can remember that. How many radiuses does it make to make a diameter? Two radiuses. Or radii, I'm not sure which one it is. But here's the deal. That first part of the word diameter, di, what does that stand for? Two. Yeah, the opposite of life. Maybe, but two, diameter. That means two of them. So, a diameter is equal to 2 radii. Or, a radius is half of a diameter. You don't need to write these down. It's just a way that we can think about those two. So if you know one, you know the other, right? The two big things we're going to chat about with circles, and this is going to be review, is area and circumference. So area of a circle, just like area of everything, is like how much there is on the inside. So you could imagine in that decimals, you did a grid, right, and you try to count them up. Could you count it up as nice and easy? Dude, that's a waffle. Okay, anyway, could you count it up as nice? Could you count it up as nice and easy as a rectangle? No. So we're gonna get this equation, pi r squared, and you're gonna be using the junk out of that. So area is pi r squared. The only thing you need to know the area is the radius. If you know the diameter, do you know the radius? If you know the circumference, do you know the radius? You actually do. Because the circumference equation is pi times the diameter. So if you know the circumference, you can find the diameter. I'll show you how to do that later. So those are the two things we're going to focus on. Now remember, I told you how I was going to explain the area of a circle to you using an orange? And it sounds crazy. That doesn't sound crazy? It's pretty crazy. So I'm just going to warn you, I don't actually have an orange here, but I'm going to draw an orange. So I'm going to draw my best orange, okay? So do you guys ever like see those slices of oranges, something like this? You know, like you take a round slice of an orange and it looks like that? There's a couple seeds in here maybe, okay? And if you were to break your orange, like let's say right here, and then you pull it flat, would you agree that it might look something like, not perfect, right? This is just a drawing, something like this. You know what I mean? No. These are like little slices of nice and juicy oranges. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like this is like the rim. You guys, can you imagine that? Okay. Then, so what would this distance right here of this be from the circle? This outside part. What's that called? What's that part called? If I broke it right here and unfolded it, what would this all around here be called? All the way around once. The circumference, right? So stay with me. And the circumference, there's two ways we can look at it. Pi times diameter or pi times 2 radii. Those would be the same thing, right? You follow? Okay, we're going to cut it again. We're going to cut this thing right here. Do you see where I made that cut? And if you take this part and flip it over here, it might look something like this. Remember, this isn't going to be perfect. Kind of see that?
No.
Yeah, that wasn't that pretty. Let's try and make that prettier for Samuel. Oh yeah, it looks pretty. So I cut it right here, flipped it over on top, and what shape does that make? What shape is this? It's not perfect. What shape is it? A rectangle. And we know a rectangle's area is base times height. Now, follow me here. How much of the circumference would the top and bottom be? Half. And half of this right here would be pi r. You follow?
We can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Half of the pi times 2 times r is pi times radius, right? Now watch this. This part right here that I'm going to highlight of the, do you guys see that green highlight?
Yeah.
What is that of the circle? That's the radius, which would be like that, right, of our slice? Okay, so base times height of this rectangle, pi times r is pi r squared. Boom! Area equation with an orange.
You're making me
Next time you eat one of those little orange things they give you at intermission in your soccer games, you're going to just be thinking about circles. Do they not do that anymore? Between games, people eat oranges still?
Stop making me hungry.
Orange, you glad I taught you that, Samuel? Okay. All right, y'all, let's practice some stuff. So draw a circle in your notes, and this circle has a diameter of 8 inches. We want to know circumference and area. So, Finley, just like all of the geometry stuff, I want you to write the equation first. So as we're going after the circumference, we're going to write C equals pi d. That's 1 point when I'm grading your quizzes. C equals pi d, 1 point. Oh, yeah. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to substitute in what we need. So I need the diameter. Samuel, what's the diameter of that? 8. So guys, we have circumference here. This would be known as the exact. The reason it's exact is once I multiply by pi is irrational. And I'm going to have a number that goes on forever. I call it the Sandlot number. Anybody ever see Sandlot?
No.
And they hit the ball over the fence and the kid's like, it's gone forever. If you haven't watched it, ask your parents. I think it's appropriate. Maybe it's PG. Anyway, it's a good movie. Then we're going to get an estimate. And when we use the estimate, we're going to use 3.14 for pi. So I'm going to do 8 times 3.14. And I'm going to get 25.12 inches. And the reason this is the estimate is 3.4 is not exactly pi. It's the first 3 digits of pi. Because how many digits are in pi? Infinite. It keeps going and going. Forever. So this would be called the estimate. It's a good estimate. All right, let's talk about area. The area equation, 1 point. Area is pi r squared. What's the only piece of information I need to find the area? The radius. Sean, what's the radius of this 8-inch diameter circle? So I'm going to write pi times 4 squared. For our exact answer, I can simplify my 4 squared to be 16. So that's 16 pi square inches. I got you, Samuel. I got you. And for my estimate, what am I going to use instead of pi? 3.14. It's just close to pi. So 16 times 3.14 in your calculator. That gives me 50.24 square inches. I know you guys have done this before, right? Okay. Now, remember that thing I told you, if you know like one thing, you know all of it a minute ago? I'm going to show you something crazy. And maybe you did this before. It's not going to be as crazy as the orange. But I'm going to be able to give you a circle and tell you that circle's area. And then you can find the circumference, radius, and diameter from this. You've got enough information. So if I'm rocking area, what's the area equation? Who can read that to me? Naya, can you read that to me from your notes, your area equation? A equals?
16.
No, not the answer, just the basic equation. What's the area equation? Like no numbers in it. I'll get you started. Pi?
Pi
R squared. Okay, thank you. Perfect. So, I know enough information to fill in my equation. I know what the area is.
Go back, please. I missed that last one.
I got you, Sam. I'll email these all to you, okay? I like that you're asking. I'll email it to you. So, I know the area, and I know the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Everybody good there? So here's the deal. You guys know how to solve for a variable now. How do I get r alone? What's the first thing I need to get rid of? I need to get r alone. What do I need to get rid of? Here's goal. R equals number. What do I need to get rid of? What's cramping our style? Pi. How do I get rid of times pi there, Samuel?
Divide by pi.
Thank you. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi. So 153.86 divided by 3.14. That gives me 49. Now here's the thing that's a little new. How do you undo squaring something? What's the inverse operation to square? I'll give you a hint. It's got the word square in it.
Divide by.
Well, that's a good guess. That's a great guess. Square root. So if I take the square root of both sides, that eliminates my square, and I'm left with r equals 7. So square roots undo squares. A square, you times something by itself. A square root means what times itself is that. So now I know the radius. If I know the radius, James, what's the diameter? If I know the radius. I better call this inches.
What?
I know the radius is 7 inches. What's the diameter then? No, it's all right. You're on the spot. This is a radius, right?
No.
This is a diameter.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I get the diameter?
I don't know.
From the radius. The radius is this much. The diameter is this much.
Mm-hmm. Multiply
By?
something. Pi?
That's a good guess. We're dealing circle. James. It's 14. 2 radii, or radiuses, make a diameter, right? Radius and radius is diameter. Okay. Circumference. Maya, you're gonna help me with circumference. If I know the diameter, I know the circumference. What's the circumference? Look in your notes at the circumference equation.
The circumference equation is pi times diameter.
Yeah. So I know the diameter. What's the circumference?
Wait, what's it? Oh, the diameter is 14.
Yeah.
Then you 14 times 3.14.
Yeah. Let's keep it the perfect answer right now. 14 pi. Cool. How cool is that? So we can go the other way too. We know algebra. We know how to isolate a variable. If you know the area, you know everything. In fact, if you know the radius, you know everything. If you know the diameter, you know everything. It's really cool. And Samuel, you're going to love it, man. Tomorrow,
No.
pizza problem. Let's go.